Hey guys, it's Ashley Kirkwood with Passion, Purpose, and Paychecks. Today we have with us a 26-year-old engineering graduate who left her full-time job at a national consulting firm to launch her own women's empowerment blog. Today we have with us Candace Armour. Welcome, Candace.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I'm so glad to be here, so thank you for having me.
Of course. So walk me through this. You went to college, and where did you attend college?
I went to Washington University.
And so as of right now, do you have a family of your own, or are you
that
single,
is the question
dating?
That's the question of the century, I guess, or the decade. But no, I'm actually not. And I think one of the most beautiful things about where I am currently is that I'm able to live and be free and figure out who I am, figure out what it is that I love to do, and not feel like, the pressures of like other people being like, when are you going to have kids, or when are you going to get married? And it's like,
yes.
I have no prospects, guys.
Yeah.
That's the embarrassing
Okay.
part. Like, can y'all stop asking? But,
right.
But yeah, no, I'm like very confident in the fact that I'm alone, and like, but that does not mean I'm lonely, because I travel the world. I do, like what I love to do, and I'm not going to settle for, anything less than what I deserve.
So that's the perfect segue into Epic Fab Girl and the small business consulting that you do.
Yeah.
How did that get started?
So Epic Fab Girl got started, actually, I started a hair extensions company in college called Fancy Extensions, and that just started from me literally selling hair for this woman, because I love hair. Y'all see my hair is kind of fabulous today. I love hair. I kept my hair done, and I kept going to this one lady, like buying hair from her, and she's like, you send me so many clients, you should just, start getting commission for selling.
Yeah.
And so I started, telling people, and then something clicked, like, girl, you are getting your MBA. You could absolutely like sell hair on your own. And so one thing led to another, and I launched a hair extensions company. Fast forward to when I graduated and came back to Chicago after graduation, I started wanting, like, I was always feeling like led to like pour into women. Mm-hmm. And I started having these women empowerment events through my hair extensions company, which was like, why would a hair extensions company have like empowerment events for women? And it's like, I don't really know what my vision was there, but I realized after we had an epic tea party that when you get all these phenomenal women in the room together that have like great aspirations, that there's something beautiful that comes from it.
Yes.
And so because of that, I was like, okay, this is a thing. And so I wanted to create a movement, and I wanted to create something that will help women focus on being their best selves. And one of my biggest things that like frustrated me about one of the first events that I had was that you get all these amazing black women in a room together.
Yeah.
And guess what we end up talking about?
What?
Men. I was like, this has to stop. Like, we're so much more than like relationships. We're so much more than, us feeling like, oh my God, that's the end all be all of life, right?
How did that happen though? So, because I'm in a few different organizations, one of them being the Black Women Lawyers Association. Yep. And when we all get in a room together, we never talk about men. I mean, we talk about like law, businesses. Our next conference is actually about getting on corporate boards. Yeah. Which you can do very well by doing. Exactly. So how did that first event turn into an event about men?
So basically we had actually a young woman who was working on Wall Street. She shared her journey with us, like her highs and lows, what she's learned about, herself over the years. She was a single black woman, and at the end of the day, like a lot of the questions that just everyone felt like, like, okay, but what about dating? And what about, it always segued into like, okay, all of this information I've kind of heard before about, rising through the ranks of corporate America. But then there's this fear of being this successful black woman and not having anyone. And so I think that's how the conversation kind of segued into that. And it really like burdened me, because I felt like there were so many other things that we could be talking about and worried about, really, when it's like relationships are a part of who we are, but it's not, we shouldn't center our entire lives around that.
So what was the article that blew up?
So the article that blew up was actually about Dana Chanel. She's like have you ever heard of Sprinkle of Jesus?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so she has this platform called Sprinkle of Jesus that helps, introduce people to Jesus. And she used to be like kind of in the world and doing her own thing, and then found Jesus, and then inspires all these people. And she's a beautiful girl. She's super fashionable, all this stuff. She's amazing, right? And then there's this other girl. Remember like the Teacher Bay situation where Teacher Bay had her cute little outfit on, but it was like super controversial.
Yeah.
So it was all around the same week because Dana Chanel had like this outfit on where her cleavage were like out, like they were just like out. And it was just like, she was just talking about how the Christian community a year ago had pretty much like drug her name like through the mud. And she was just like, this is so wrong. Like, why did you guys do me like that? And so a year later, she's like, okay. And she asked the question like, hey, was I wrong for the way that I was dressed? And I was like, girl, I commend you for even opening yourself up to being like, yo, like, was I wrong, and being open to correction?
Yes.
But I was like, but baby girl, sometimes you can like dilute your message because of, like you stand for Jesus, you stand for Sprinkle of Jesus, and then you have your boobs out, then people get confused. And when they're trying to figure out how to live a life of righteousness, they think they can still be out here clubbing or doing whatever it is that they're doing that might not, necessarily get them the lifestyle that they want to be living with Jesus. And so I was just saying how, even with her and Teacher Bay, that it was like, it just became super controversial because some people were like, you can't control and tell women what they can do with their bodies. But I'm like, you can't. But at the same time, you have to know that when you have a certain platform, you have to, know that you have people you have influence over, and what you wear and what you say will affect, whether or not, like, it'll affect your influence. And so it blew up because it was just super controversial.
So before you left your consulting job, you were in a consulting firm working a ton of hours. When we spoke earlier, you said that you were working like 18-hour days. It wasn't uncommon, on and off of planes, but you still were able to build a business while in that environment.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
How did I do it? With the grace of God. But literally, so when I first started working in corporate America, it wasn't as strenuous as it was, but it was as people began to see like the type of work ethic that I had, it's like you begin to get pulled in all these different directions. And they're like, oh, Candace is a rock star. She's amazing. And it's a good thing because it's like they see the value that you have, but then they start to pull on you and pulling you into all these different projects. And so, like I said, I was traveling, Monday through Thursday. That's pretty much how my work schedule was. I would, for a long time, I was flying from Chicago to California. And I would get up, be at the airport 3 o'clock in the morning, and I literally would fly to California and then work for the client. Like by the time I got there, it would be like 10 o'clock in the morning, and you would work until like 7 p.m. at night. And then you would work, Tuesday through Thursday pretty much all day. Thursday, you'd fly back home.
Wow.
Friday, be on conference calls all day. And then Saturday, you figure out what you're doing with your life, and then Sunday night be in bed by 7, 8 o'clock so you could be back up for that 3 a.m. flight. But what I had to do is I had to create a schedule for my life, because when it did begin to get a lot more strenuous, where it was like 12, 14, 18-hour days, I had to be very strategic with my time. And so what I would do when I was on clients, like, after I got back from work, I would literally like go to my hotel, eat dinner, work out. But then I would get rid of all distractions, turn off like social media from my phone, like literally log off all those apps. And I would literally just like start writing or start building my blog. So I would work maybe from like 8 to like midnight, and then I would go to sleep, and then I would do it again.
Yeah.
But I would take advantage of all the time that I did have. And it was kind of good because when you're traveling, you don't have family distractions or any of that. And then on the weekends, I would focus on my life and really focus on growing and developing spiritually. And then as time kind of went on, there were times when, I'd be at the client site or, at a client until 11 at night or like 1 in the morning. I'll never forget, I flew to one of like my favorite clients actually in New York City. And, you know, I just remember looking around, and it was like a fast fashion retailer, like a big name. And I was like really excited because I was like, wow, this is so cool. I'm seeing all these like Vogue, like magazines on the wall. This is so cool. But I'm like, it's 11 o'clock. Why am I here? And like, what is going on? And everyone was like, oh, wow, Candace, you're in New York. Go see some stuff. And I like was so mad because it was literally like I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see the city because I was there and I was working and I was slaving. And so once it got to a point where I no longer could really, like, I got exhausted. Like my health was bad. There was a point in time where like I was so dehydrated, like ended up going to the doctor and they're like, yeah, you're not taking care of yourself. Like, and so once I started realizing that it was kind of taking a toll on my personal health and it was taking a toll on, you know, just like my happiness, like I was over it. Like I got over it real fast, actually. Yeah.
Tell me about the hardest day at the office.
Woo. I think there were a lot of hard days, you know, putting in work and then getting it back and then seeing like, hey, no, this is not what we need. We need to redo this again. And like, or even like being thrown into projects where, because they know you're competent, like I'll never forget that I had gotten on this one client and they signed like the statement of work, which is like an outline of like what the client expects from you. And they brought on the team and they have us working, we're working, I'm doing all this stuff. And then halfway through, they're like, oh my God, we didn't hire anyone to do this particular deliverable for the client. Guess who had to do it? Guess what it was? It had nothing to do with anything I had ever learned. So I literally had to deliver a project to the, like content to the client that I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And so it's like immense pressure. I think that was one of the most difficult times, but it stretches you and grows you. And then you have to, like, I literally had to present that to, it was a major technology company. I'm pretty sure you guys have all touched one of their computers a day in your life. And it was just crazy because it's like you have people in Europe and France and Asia. I'm literally presenting to these people, which was like a great opportunity, but it's like this 26-year-old black girl is over here freezing up because, you know, they're asking me questions that I don't know how to answer because I just researched this myself, you know, 3 days ago. And they have no idea. And so, and to know and look at that and be like, oh, wow, this client paid, you know, $250,000 for this specific deliverable that I put in. I was like, this client is paying for this and I could be getting paid this from somebody's pocket, you know, and thinking of kind of lining it up with like the level of effort that I was putting in. It just kind of got really tough. So
how did you overcome what I'm sure were days when you just felt inadequate? Because I know for me, I have days where I just feel like I always explain to people like, oh, do you like your job? I think being a lawyer, I feel like in representing large corporate clients, some days I feel like I can do my job forever because I'm just in it. I'm killing it. It's so fun. Then there are days when I feel like I can't do this tomorrow. And it's because I feel inadequate. And I walk in my big building, it looks so pretty and gorgeous, and I know that I'm blessed to be there. And I think about the fact that when that building was, when that firm was started, I couldn't work there as a black person. Like it was never built to fit me inside. It was never built with me in mind. And so when I think about why it's not fitting and why I'm critiqued differently than my peers and why I'm always looked at like, can she really handle it, and getting passive aggressive feedback, it's because that whole system was not even built for me. And sometimes I do feel like maybe God is going to expand beyond, like he has something built for me. You know what I mean? Like when you think about what we do in these corporations, it is unbelievable what I carry, like the bags that I carry to work that are invisible to my peers.
No, that's
like, I'm walking through the building thinking this wasn't even built for me. I had a trial in Texas. Oh my God. I had a trial in Texas, and it was right after Sandra Bland. And so I'm in here working. It's probably like 10 o'clock at night. And outside of the trial room, I hear people chanting Black Lives Matter. And everyone in the trial room was talking about how annoying, like how the noise was like the noise. They were just like, it's so loud. Oh, there's going to be protests. And I'm sitting here thinking, someone died. A girl who looked like me died. Like I could have died.
Yeah.
And you all are talking about the inconvenience of the noise when I don't know if I'll live to make it home from this state. Like, I knew I would live, but like I could, it is feasible that someone with my credentials, with my skin tone, with my everything could die because she didn't do exactly what the cop told her to do in the way that he wanted her to do it.
Right, yeah.
And then I think about how these systems weren't built for us.
They weren't, yeah.
How did you, every single day that you were there, deal with those feelings of inadequacy?
Yeah, I think, so there's two parts to it. So one of the ways that I dealt with it was knowing that there was something beyond, that God had me where I was for a reason to learn things, but I knew in the same way that you said, like, this was not built for me. This is not my forever.
Right.
And I grew very accustomed to that, and I knew that, you know, there were things that I had to learn,
Yes.
and there were going to be tough moments. Like, you know, I think a lot of times in Christianity, people think once you get saved, once you love Jesus, that everything is going to be, you know, lollipops and butterflies, and that's not the case. And so, you know, God promises you that he'll be with you through it always, but he doesn't promise you that there won't be struggle.
Exactly.
And so for me, I always made sure that I got the right perspective. And one of the things that I learned in, you know, those tough moments of feeling inadequate, because it was actually about a year ago where I had a moment where I was basically put on a project. I was trying to try something new because I had been in the digital technology space. And I said I wanted to try like PMO, like project management. And so I got put onto this project, and pretty much like every time I did something, it was wrong. Like, I did a lot of stuff right, but it was like the visibility of what I was doing. It was by VPs. It was like all of this crazy stuff. And I remember like being on calls with people in India until like 11, 12 o'clock at night, and being like really frustrated because they're like, okay, did you do this? And I'm like, y'all didn't give me the guidance like to be able to do my job well, but whatever, like I'm trying to do the best I can.
Exactly.
And it was crazy. So what ended up happening was actually on that project, it was like super intense, and something happened where, my uncle actually passed away unexpectedly. And that day I had to be like, okay, you know, I'm leaving work, and, you know, I can't do any of this. I need to leave. This is like super unexpected.
Yeah.
And my boss is like, wait, no, we need all of this information from you before you go.
Oh, of course.
And my heart just sunk. And I was like, So I'm like, I literally spent like an hour and a half, like trying to give away all the information, not being there for my family when I needed to be.
Yeah.
And so I like rushed, like got done. I told him like, hey, I won't be able to like talk today. On the way, like to driving to my parents, like my boss called me. I'm like, why are you calling me? Why are you texting my phone? Like, I don't understand. And so like that just grew very troubling. A few weeks after that, I found out that they had been having meetings about me and my performance, and they never had a conversation with me.
Of course not.
It.
The secret white meeting that's in the Insecure shows. I heard about the secret white meetings. I mean, not that everyone there is white, but it's just the fact that there are secret meetings about you that are never confirmed.
Absolutely.
You're not looped into.
Exactly. So not only was there secret white meetings, but the corporation at the time it's diverse. So it was actually like, I think he's like Pakistani or something.
Okay.
But he basically, just their culture and how they treat women, they speak to women very condescendingly.
Yes.
And it took a lot for me not to like pop off. Like,
people don't know. That's what, that's what they don't know. And I feel like I remember having a paralegal on trial tell me to go get food for the witness. The paralegal on trial told me to go get food for the witness. And in a very dismissive way, like, you need to go get food. Then she wouldn't like carry my stuff to the courtroom. So I had to carry all my own stuff. I remember making my own binders. I remember just her yelling at me in the courtroom, and I did not respond.
Yeah.
I didn't respond. I walked out because even though it was acceptable for this white woman to yell at me in front of partners and senior officials at the firm, it would have never been acceptable for me to tell her what I wanted to tell her in that moment. And I would have not forgiven myself for telling her
what you would have wanted.
Everything I wanted to tell her. So I walked away, and she saw it as, yeah, that's right. I tell her what to do. You just got saved by the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to go there with you.
Right, but I feel like those moments are such teaching moments, and even for me, it was a very big character thing for me at the time, because I really did want to go off, and I felt like if you guys felt like there was something wrong with what I was doing, you should have a coaching moment, like, hey, come here, let me show you the ropes. Or is this, how do you feel? Or do you feel overwhelmed? None of that was had.
That's what happens to my peers, though.
After the fact.
Immediate feedback. It's like, oh, Jason, last week you did X, Y, and Z, buddy. Don't do that again.
Yeah.
And when I ask my peers, I ask them, like, oh, so how did your year go? And they may tell me about mistakes and things like that. How'd your review go? Oh, it was not in my review. They really made sure that my review was just very constructive. Now, when I look at what was it, I could have dropped a staple on the ground. It was in the review.
Yeah.
It was like, and then she dropped the staple on the ground this one time, but it was fine. Like, literally every minute mistake is in my review. And what they do oftentimes is they build these cases because they don't want, the whole Black issue to come up.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty direct person. Like, I just don't have time for it. I feel like if we can't call BS, when will we ever be able to say, you know what, you need to check your bias on that?
Yeah.
I've been in meetings where I've said things, it's like completely overlooked, and then John next to me will say it, and they're like, that's a good thought.
Exactly.
Look into that. And I'm like, I just want to confirm that what I said, maybe you misheard it, but I did make that exact same point, and maybe one word was different, just so we're clear.
Yeah, exactly.
So your story is amazing. There's obviously so much to cover. You left corporate America after how many years?
After 3 years.
3 years. Was that the plan going in?
Yes, but I forgot about it. So when I initially went in, I knew that I wanted 3 years max, and God had told me, like, okay, I'm giving you 3 years. And so along the way, I started to get super miserable. Like I said, I had crazy hours, all of that stuff. And at the beginning of this particular year, I kept praying and fasting, like, God, you got to give me a date. And so I did my research, and I found out that as long as I worked until August 31st, which was the end of their fiscal year, that I would get paid my bonus check. I said, okay, that's when I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And so I had that date at the beginning of the year, and I worked against it. And I created a plan for my budget and everything. And I was like, okay, this is exactly how much money I need to have saved up. I need to have at least 6 months of income saved up so that, once I leave my job, I can be okay. And basically what happened was everything did not work the way I thought it should have.
And you purchased a home as well, right?
Yeah, I had literally just purchased a home last September. So it's been a full year now. And I mean, at that point,
that's a huge deal.
Thank you. But I had just purchased a home, so I had a mortgage, and I had to figure out, okay, if I'm leaving my job, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make sure I'm good? And so, like I said, I knew the exact amount that I wanted to have saved up. And at the end of, as August was approaching, the money just wasn't there. And I was, really frustrated, okay, I know God wants me to come off of my job because all of my other business endeavors were picking up. Mm-hmm. And so 2 weeks before the day that I was going to quit, I had talked myself out of it. I was like, okay, it's not God. The money's not there. How dare I leave my job? And, I may have 2 months of income saved up, but what am I going to do after that's over? And so I kept going back and forth, having conversations with different people. And one of my friends was like, how did you talk yourself out of, leaving your job? Why would you listen to people who have never walked away from a nearly 6-figure paying job, to pursue their dreams? You can't always get advice from people who've never done what has never been done, And
so that's the thing. And I'm glad that you brought up that you were making close to 6 figures, because a lot of people think it's easier. I don't know if it's easier. I imagine it would be a lot easier to leave a job that was paying significantly less.
Right.
Because you're like, this job is not paying me well. They are not treating me well, and thus screw them on every level, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
But when you're making close to 6-figure income or 6-figure income, it becomes very difficult to leave because your lifestyle elevates with your income.
Absolutely. And so it's crazy because I had been earning 6 figures, and so I knew I had become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Yes. And, I am a very frugal person. I budget a lot. I rewear outfits to make sure that, I'm still cute, but I'm not going to waste my money on stuff that I don't need to waste my money on. But I had to be like, okay, if I'm going to leave this job, I need to leave strategically. And so, like I said, I thought everything was going to work out the way I wanted. I wanted to have cushion. It just did not work out. And then God told me, like, maybe a few days before the day that I was getting ready to quit, that I had originally thought I was going to quit, that I needed to look at my budget again. And I didn't really listen to him, and I was like, whatever, okay, whatever. So the day August 31st comes, and it leaves. And September 1st rolls around, and I'm sitting here, and I've never been pregnant, but I kept telling people it felt like I was pregnant and the baby had dropped. And it was like you knew the baby was ready to come. And when it was time to push, I was trying to abort the baby at 9 months. And it was like, it felt so intense. And I was like, oh my God, I need to leave this company. Like, I can't keep saying no to like what God is trying to birth in me.
You have to be obedient.
Absolutely. And I was stressed. I said, I can deal with the stress of people, but I can't deal with disobeying God. And so after that, I basically looked at my budget again, like he told me, and I started calling HR as if I were getting ready to quit. I was like, let me just call and see. Found out that they would pay me out for PTO that I hadn't taken. They would pay me out all this other money that I had invested in the company. And it literally was the exact amount that God had asked, that God said that I needed to leave my job. And it was just such a testament of faith, because I think a lot of times you think that when, the Bible says faith without works is dead. And a lot of times you're looking to God and praying to God for something, but he's just waiting on you to obey him to release the provision that he already told you he would give you. And so for me, I was like, okay, it was so symbolic, because literally the day I quit, the day after, that's when they released the funds, and my bank account was sitting with the money that I needed in it. And so it was just really amazing to know that, God meets you where you're at, but he does not take lightly when you trust him. Like, and even I tell people that this season of my life has been coined as unlearning independence, because as a Black single woman, I've literally taken care of myself my whole life. I've worked since I was 15. I've always been, grinding, going to get it, making sure that everything that I could control was in place. But now it's like, I have no idea what my life is about to look like, but I'm trusting God. I'm like falling like all in his arms, because I'm like, okay, you got me. We running together. Okay, we good. And so I think for me, it's just a testament of faith that, like, when you have faith and believe in what God has put on the inside of you, and you are confident in what he has called you to do, then, the options are limitless,
You have Epic Fab Girl. You have this platform. You're able to impact so many women. How many users do you have? How many people are touching the site?
So we have, in terms of visitors, I actually just looked at this number recently, but over the first year of us starting, we've had 8,000 visitors, which is like cool.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. We definitely still have room for growth. It's exciting to know that, like, your brand and like one vision can touch so many different people, and to know that it's just the beginning. I think that's the exciting part.
So what's next? I hear you have a conference coming up. What's that about?
So I'm super excited. So our conference is the Go Getter Conference, and it's in March of 2018. Thank you. I'm super excited because basically it's for women who are faith-based but also career-minded. And what I found was that when I moved back to Chicago, there's this world of, entrepreneurial women who are go-getters. They're out here like kind of doing their own thing, like really career-focused and successful. And then there's a ton of events and stuff for them. Then there's this world of like Christian women who love God, who are saving themselves for marriage, that are like, oh my God, I want nothing but what God has for me in my life. But you see those events like completely separate. And so what I did was merge the two worlds, where we're talking about everything from relationships from a male perspective. We're talking about, how to get your finances in order, how to be your best self, how, if I want to launch a business, what to launch it. If I want to, start a business, how do I know if I want an LLC or a sole proprietorship? So it's like going into those details that you don't necessarily get at conferences, where it's helping your inner self, but it's helping you go after your purpose fearlessly. And I think as women, we have so much stuff that we are up against, like in business, there's things that intimidate us. There's so much that we have to go through, and Go Getter Conference is really focusing on helping you to be your best self for your future so that you can just be bomb all around. You can be fabulous, and it doesn't mean that you're arrogant or stuck up for being cute. No, like, you're cute, like, you're just cute, you're beautiful. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And so Go Getter Conference is all about the, faith-based, career-minded woman who wants to go out after her dreams and pretty much live a remarkable life.
So you have Epic Fab Girl, the Go Getter Conference. You also do small business consulting and brand management. Where can people find out about all of your endeavors and get in contact with you, get tickets to the conference, and hire you for services?
Awesome. So for the conference, we have Go Getter Conference. That's gogetterconference.com.
Okay.
We also have Epic Fab Girl, and Epic Fab Girl is epicfabgirl.com. Okay. But the best way to contact me is on Instagram. So I have all of the links, like, to all of everything that I'm doing on Instagram. So it's Candace Jenee. It's CandaceJunee. So super excited about that. And, I've got a lot going on, but I'm just really, really excited to be able to kind of pour into women and connect with people. Because, as you know, like, I love connecting with people, and I love being, like, super relatable. So I'm always open to connecting with people.
Awesome. Well, Candace, this has been a wonderful discussion. We'll have to have you back.
Thank you.
Because there's just so many topics to cover. But thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait for the Go Getter Conference and to learn more about Epic Fab Girl.
I'm so excited.
You've been exceptional. Thank you.